Alright, this is inside the Cars of Dreams Museum. And as you can see, I'm in here early today, so the crowd hasn't really gotten crowded. There are a bunch of people outside. So hopefully I can get some pictures of cars before I get in. There are a ton of new cars this year, so it should be pretty interesting. I can see a bunch of them I've never seen before, but there are lots and lots of cars here, and hopefully I'll get some bids of a lot of them before it gets too crowded in here and there's so many people you can't see it all. So let's get started. And there's one of my favorites right there, 57 Ford Fairlane, and it's a convertible. And of course, as anything at the Staluppi Museum, it is done to the nines. That is one pretty car. And there's just a ton of them in here done like that. Just ridiculously pretty. And look at this. This is another favorite of mine. Any of these old T-Birds that had that roadster back on it, I just think are awesome. Never was a real fan of the Continental kit on this body style, but that car is a beaut. And again, just done up to the nines. I wish I could get inside the ropes on this one. But you can see, that's a beaut. Let's keep rolling. Real pretty 58 Oldsmobile. Nice looking car there. The paint is, that's a pretty color. I don't recall that from back in the day, but it sure is pretty. The front end of these old Plymouths I always thought was pretty cool. But look at this DeSoto. He's got a pair of them here. Looky that. Man, I always thought those things were righteous. Yeah, boy. That right there just screams 50s in that kind of coral salmon look. The two-tone all the way into the interior with the black inserts. That's a good looking car.
It sparkles like jewelry.
It does sparkle like jewelry, doesn't it? Every one of his cars always sparkle like jewelry. This has always been one of my favorites, if not my favorite, 442 body style. I like the look of the earlier ones, and this one is just, again, another righteous car. Don't really care for the louvers in the hood, but I'd get over it, you know? Now look at these big Caduce. That right there is a real piece of work, isn't it? That is a lot of custom work done extremely well. And it is long and low and wide. That is something else. And there is the more stock counterpart. And that's where the wings came from. That's a pretty car. And look at him. I believe this is probably going to be a Baritz. But that was quite the ride back in the day. Well, still is quite the ride. It is a Baritz. That is a whole lot of car. It's nice to see that he still has a penchant for the Chrysler 300s, which were always one of a million favorites of mine. I don't know if these are the same 300s he's had for a while or if he just got some new ones, but he's always seemed to like those 300s, and God bless him for it, because I like them too. They are just cool, stately looking cars, I think. They were top end cars in the day. And again, they're all going to be just obviously done to the nth degree. That thing is nice. That's a real early one, 57, 58, something like that. Purdy. Well, there it is. This one here is 57. And he doesn't usually have two of the same years, so I reckon that's a 58. That is slick. I can't reach in and touch it, but just looking at it, I'm going to say that's a leather interior. Whatever it is, it's pretty. Nice. And get a little more modern here, but golly, this is a big one. I think this one might be the. It is. This is the Imperial. Always cool dash in these things. That was space age in the day. That's good looking car. '63 Imperial. They didn't spare the chrome then. Sweet. A New Yorker. And a 300 that was the 1963 Indy pace car. Can you imagine that as the pace car at Indy? It was a different deal back then. '63 300J. You can see the wings were kind of going by the wayside by then. Still a good looking car though. Some real sweet looking old Indians here. 46, 47. That's the 47. I want you to look at that front end. Now that is old school Springer right there. That's a seat. This one's cool because it's got the sidecar with it, which is something you didn't see all that much of even then. To see that something survived like that is pretty neat. Then you get into A lot more modern look on it. And look at this little guy right here. Little Datsun 1300. This was quite a deal back in the day. I can remember a few of these things running around. They were pretty neat little cars, and boy, it's a little car too. It's like Austin Healey Sprite size, but fun, neat little car. You know, I have seen these things on TV shows and in magazines, but I've never actually seen one for real. That is an unusual contraption, isn't it? And just chromed from stem to stern. And a little air-cooled V-twin powering her along. Now here's the thing, this is a two-seater. I can't imagine the comfort level was very high, but the cool and neato is pretty high. A Morgan three-wheeler. Kind of neat. There's a cool old car. 1950 Olds 98. That fastback rear end on it, I thought those things were cool. Still think it's pretty cool. It's just too mongoloid. I don't know if this is one left over from the previous round of cars or if this is a new one. I don't think I have seen it. That's a lot of car. Here's a car you don't see very much anymore. And if you do, it's always going to be at a show like this or a museum. It's a 70 Dodge Daytona. Hemi Daytona. This one has been breathed on a little bit. It's now got a 572 Hemi in it. And you can see a bunch of tire on it. But still that classic profile that you just can't mistake. Another pretty neat old car. 51 Hudson Convertible. That was quite a, well, not the convertible necessarily, but that was quite a race car back in the day. That's the Kaiser Special, I believe. And tons of chrome there too. This one's a 54. There we go. And an old Corvair. This was kind of the second body style for the Corvairs. A lot sleeker than the first versions. You know, when I was in high school, these things were running around all over the place. You could get them with turbos, all kind of things. They were just kind of neat old cars. There's a neat car. I always liked these specials. My buddy Steve Jackson had one of these things in high school. That thing was just so slick. These Buicks, when I was a kid, it took me a while for that body to grow on me, but I got to where I liked it. Now this here is one of my favorite cars of the modernish era. The 65 Impalas were right at that string of cars from 65 to 70, whatever it was. This was the body style. I like that body style best. Tail lights are best. It just generally overall just a favorite, especially if you had a convertible. A friend of mine in high school had the Super Sport, which is a real fastback looking thing. It was pretty slick too. And man, back in the day, didn't you see a bajillion of these 9-passenger wagons driving around? And look at here at this Edsel. That's got to be that's a 60, I expect. But boy, there's a couple of hours of labor and a few walletfuls of dollar in there. Cool looking car. See if I can get these tail lights in here. That was always the neat part about these cars, I thought, was just the tail lights. But the 60 Ford wasn't a particularly good looking car, in my opinion. So that you had some cool work done on the rear end of it. That was, the grill's kind of different on these too. Kind of neat.